morning. Can everybody understand me in the back? Or should I put this a bit more higher up? Okay now? A lot of response in the morning. I'm going to give a presentation about Git Flow. So not about headless Drupal or Drupal without a head, whatever it is, I don't know. So it will be a basic explanation of the concept of Git Flow, how you should use it. Yeah, and I am Mathieu Spillebeen. Let's start. So the presentation is divided into 3 parts. The first part will be what the problem is and and how many companies use Git now in the wrong way. The second part will be the solution of Git Flow in theory, and the third part will be the solution in practice. So how it will be implemented on a Drupal environment, on large and big, or large or small projects. Okay, so when we use Git for the first time, why do we love it so much? Because it's open source, it's very fast, it's also decentralized, it's very efficient, and it's quite easy to learn. Or at least in the beginning when you're just using the basic stuff like git pull, git push. How many of you guys used Git before? Okay, perfect. How many of you guys use Git Flow? Perfect. So the downside of Git Flow is more like we use Git in a way that we just use the master branch, and after some time when we are with more than one developers on one project, we create our own fear of branches because they usually cause merge conflicts and we don't really know what those are, and it's quite scary. But the thing that we do then as a solution, or as the easy shortcutted solution, is we just use the one branch solution. Why? Just one branch fits all. We get the master on a Git initialization, and we just use that one branch and we just commit on that. But it's a very linear approach, just one line of commits, and when we are with more than one developers, it's quite hard to know who have done what, on which environment, when was a bug introduced, where is the problem, and we just occasionally use some extra branches to try something out or something, but it usually scares us because then we have to merge it and then you get all kinds of problems. It's quite scary. So the solution in theory is start off by somebody who goes by the name of Envy or Vincent Driesen, who came up with a solution about 4 years ago that was Git Flow. What is Git Flow? In the essence, it's just some kind of a rule book, just a set of guidelines that will guide you and your team to a better workflow, to a better understandable workflow. So you can still do everything. It's not some kind of other kind of Git. It's just some rules when you are using Git. It's basically just a sanitized, documented workflow that you and your team can use, or teams that are working with other teams can also use, because it's getting quite implemented already. And when we all use the same workflow, we don't have to brief every day where we committed something, or who will merge, who will branch something into something else. Just sanitized, documented workflow. So Git Flow is a concept of solving a couple of problems. The first problem is the environments problem. When you have more than one environment, let's say a live and a staging, it's quite hard to know which commits should be go to live or which commits should be going to staging. You don't really know who is committing for live, who is committing for staging, if something can go live. So you have some kind of environments problem, or that's the name I'm giving it. You always have one local environment, but let's ignore that for now. And you have two remote environments, so a staging and a live. That's the very basics of Git Flow. Why? Because Git Flow says that you should have two main branches, two never-ending main branches, which are always called master and develop. So you have a master and you have a develop. The master is the branch you all know. Once you get used, once you start using Git, you always get the master branch. So the master branch is always the live. You should think of every time you commit something to master, it should be ready to get pulled on live and should be ready for the clients to see. So the master branch is the main branch that is only for live, and I'm going to repeat it a couple of times because it's really the very basic that you should wrap your head around before we can continue. In the same logic, we have also a develop branch, and the develop branch is the branch for staging only. Now, the same principle goes for there. Once you commit something to develop, it should be ready for anybody who wants to check out develop. If your client has the link to the staging environment, every commit that should happen every commit that happens on develop should be ready for the client to see also. So master, live, develop, staging. That's quite simple, because then you have a logic of, okay, somebody just committed something into master, it's something for the clients to see, it's already finished, it shouldn't be reviewed, it shouldn't be checked, it shouldn't be, the ticket is probably closed if you're having internal support ticketing system, etc., etc. The second main problem is the purpose problem, or that's the name I'm giving it again. The purpose problem is divided into 4 parts. Why? Because when we are working on a project as a developer, we have a couple of things that we should be doing. Sometimes we should debug something on the live or on staging. Sometimes we're working on an entirely new feature, something tricky, something that will break the site on when working on it. Because you haven't done it before, or it is a really big feature, or whatever. The third thing is when you're fixing feedback based on the staging environment. It's also one purpose. The fourth one is if your client asks you to fix something tiny on the live, and it's just one line of code, just change the yes into true, or just change the color from blue to red, something simple that won't break the site, but the client will be very happy if it happens instantaneously, and when not everybody should wait. No, the client will be very happy if it happens in 1 hour, and not when the next release will be there, and not when the next feature will be ready. So we have 2 main branches. We have the main branch, the master, which stands for live, and the develop branch, which stands for staging. Now, the first purpose problem, you want to debug something on live or staging, is already solved by dividing Git or using 2 branches, master and develop, because you can just, with your local environment, check out master, debug something on that, or check out develop and debug something on that. So we have 3 following purpose problems. The first one, working on a tricky new feature. You don't want to, when you're working on a feature that, let's say that's 3 days work, you don't want your internal reviewer to continually give feedback in a ticket about, yeah, it still doesn't work, it looks like crap. It's very annoying, it's very time consuming, you don't have any use for it. So the first secondary branch for this purpose is the feature branch. The feature branch is something that is branched and merged into develop. Why? Because you will be working on something new, and you will be working on something that should be based on the latest working copy of your other features. So you use a feature branch that is merged from develop, where you can work with one developer or two developers, doesn't really matter. It's just one feature branch for one specific feature. So you have no unfinished work for reviewers to see. You have no interference with other developers. Let's say you're, I'm a teamer. If you're working on something like a slideshow that will break something else on the homepage, and some blocks will be not visible when you're working on it, I don't know, anything, it can be a real problem for other developers, their workflow. So when you work in a feature branch, you don't really have that problem also. There is also no harm in trying stuff out. You can create a feature branch and just say, yeah, okay, I'm happy with my feature. I just realized it's a really crappy solution. So I'm just not going to merge the feature back into develop for the staging to have. So you can just delete it, or you can just ignore it, or leave it open for some later time to work on. You have also the possibility of creating multiple feature branches. Let's say you have a team of 3 developers. One is working on develop, another one is really trying to work something out. So he creates, for example, feature 1. Then he can start working on that, he can start committing in that. He has the latest developed copy, so he knows it will work on the latest working copy at that possible time. But you can also have another developer who thought of, hey, I can do something entirely different. I want also a feature branch. So there is no really a limit on number of feature branches you can have. It's just per feature. Oh, maybe I should show this also. You always have to do it on develop. That's the convention, because it's more logical to do it on develop than on master. You should also always delete the branch after finishing, because you don't want any other developer to start working in that feature branch also after you merged it into staging environment or into develop. Now, the feature branch is all nice, but you're probably wondering now, yeah, okay, but now I have a master branch, I have a develop branch that is initially created from the master, but we don't really have a way to push something live. When we create a feature, we merge it back into develop. Yeah, it's on staging, and let's say the feature is perfect, and you can, or you want to set it live. Yeah, we don't really have a branch for that for now. So the next solution for the third purpose problem, let's see, the third purpose problem was you're fixing feedback based on staging environment. Let's say you just merged your feature branch into your develop branch. So the reviewer can see develop, the reviewer can see the staging, and he says, yeah, okay, but I want the slideshow to be twice as big, I want these colors to be a bit more dark. So you start receiving feedback. You start receiving feedback, let's say, on feature 1. If you're fixing review on feature 1, you will be committing into, when you wouldn't have a release branch, you would be committing into develop, and then another feature merges into develop that breaks your feature, and you get another review, and you get another feedback, and you start working on the feedback of the second feature. And it's a process that will never end, because the website is never really 100% finished, or at least not in the development process. So Envy thought of the solution as a release branch. The release branch is basically a concept of putting controlled pieces of features or code or changes live or ready for controlled feedback. So in this example, we have feature 1 that's merged into develop, and then we say, okay, let's just create a release branch. I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, let's just create a release branch on this commit. So the timing that you create a release branch is quite important. And then you can start handling all the feedback that's only about feature 1. Why? Because you only want the feedback of feature 1 to be in that release branch. You don't want to start handling a feature that was finished at a later stadium. You just want feature 1 to go live because you want the controlled piece of content, which is now feature 1 and the first 3 commits of develop. And you want to handle that feedback, you want to handle that review, and you just want to commit into the release branch. And every time you have a commit that fixes feature 1, you've committed into release to the release branch, and then you merge it back into develop. Otherwise, the reviewer won't have an opportunity to have a second round of feedback, because you want to show the reviewer, yeah, I fixed it in this manner, I fixed it this way. So you're committing it into release branch and you're merging it back into develop just to show at the reviewer. Now, when the reviewer says, yeah, okay, that ticket is for me closed, that feature 1 is ready for me, feature 1 can go live, then you can just finish the release branch, and Git Flow will merge it back into develop and merge it also into master. Now, what does that mean? That the staging still has all the changes that you initially reviewed and handled, and the master also has only feature 1 ready, because feature 2 isn't ready yet, and that will be for our next release. But you know exactly what is in release 1, what you should be prioritizing for this release, what is in develop now, which features are ready for review. That's the whole concept, and that's, I think, the most important release branch, the most important secondary branch of Git Flow. You have to wrap your head around it, that it's just the way of version controlling today, I think, because you have a lot of features. You don't have one person that's already or always reading all the commits. You should have some way of telling people, yeah, okay, now in this release we will put that live, now in that release we will put that live. The reviewer also doesn't have to know. You can, when the reviewer says, yeah, I have feedback on feature 1 and 2, let's say you're at this stadium and you just merged feature 2 in here, but you already created a release branch, and the reviewer starts giving review or feedback about feature 1 and feature 2. Then you can say, okay, I'm going to first handle feature 1 because that's now prioritized in the Git workflow. So I'm starting to fix all the issues that are with feature 1 in this release branch, and you fix all the things that should be fixed on feature 2 in the develop branch, because then you have a way of, let's say this release branch is finished, then you can just start up a new release, and you know, okay, in this release we have feature 2, 3, 4 and 5, and we already reviewed and handled the first 3. We only have to handle feature 5 for now. And you always have a very controlled substance of which code you should be putting live. Yeah, so the point in time is quite important. If you wait too long with it, you can have like 10 features in the develop branch that should be reviewed, so it will be a quite major release. So it's quite important. Or also the periodical back merges are also important, because the reviewer should know what the status is about some features. Now, the last secondary branch is the hotfix branch, and that's for the last purpose problem. So the last purpose problem was if you're quickly fixing a tiny bug on live. So just fix something very fast on live that the client will be very happy about. Just one line of code, 2 lines of code, something that you really know that will 100, 1000% work. I'm really sure of it. Let's just hotfix it. So if you want something to be hotfixed, you don't want to wait on the entire process of feature development, of reviewers, of somebody else's workflow. You just want, I know how I can fix this problem. I'm just going to make a hotfix. So a hotfix is a branch and merge into the master. You just create a hotfix. You commit your small change into this. You finish the hotfix, and Git Flow will finish that hotfix branch into the master. So the client is very happy. And it will also merge the fix into develop, because the reviewer or the guy that gives feedback doesn't always know where the problem occurs, and when it's fixed on both environments, so live and staging, you won't have any problems, and you will already don't have to worry about that bug, and you can already close the ticket. Everybody or no one will be able to reproduce the problem, so Git Flow handles that for you. Yeah, so basically hotfixes are also being used for stuff that doesn't need reviewing. You can just say like, okay, I'm working on something now. The reviewer isn't going to check it, so why should I put it in a release branch and go into that entire process? Nobody's going to review it, so why not put it in a hotfix branch? Okay. So, what does all this mean? You have now 2 main branches. You have 2 main branches that each stands for one environment. So you have a master that stands for live, you have a develop that stands for staging, and you have 3 secondary branches. So one is the feature branch, which speaks for itself. It's just for creating an entirely new feature or a really big expansion of one feature. You have a release branch, which is for controlling pieces of content that should be going live, but you want to know what you are putting live, not half-ass finished features. And then you have hotfix branches to quickly fix something for the client, and you can merge it back into master and into develop. So Git Flow doesn't really prohibit any other branches. It doesn't really give errors or warnings about, hey, you shouldn't be creating another feature branch, you shouldn't be creating another hotfix branch on develop or on master. No, Git Flow is just a way of, Git Flow is more a convention of people. If everybody knows this concept, which already is widely implemented, if everybody knows this concept, it will be very easy to start working with other teams on an entirely new project, because you know, okay, I have a live, this is the master. People are working on a release branch right now. Somebody just hotfixed this issue. There are some features ready for merging into develop. There are some features that are ready for front-end work to begin in. So you have a really convention of naming branches. So you have a control system for developers, reviewers, and clients, and the entire process of Git Flow is only intended for clarity, for history, enlightenment, and for that the live will never break, because you know exactly what will be merging back into master, etc., etc. So you you can also really easy debug the entire process when somebody does something wrong in a hotfix. It's very clear that it happened in the hotfix. You can just revert that hotfix because the problem only occurs on live. And it creates a new problem on staging. For example, when you create a hotfix, let's say for some kind of an if loop, and you merge it into master, you merge it into develop when finishing the hotfix, and the live is actually fixed, but the develop still breaks because some other feature is interfering with the logic. Then you can know, oh, okay, I have to fix this issue too before we can create the next release, because the staging will still be broken. So it's I think it's a real enlightenment for people who are already used to git pull, git push, merge, branch maybe, and you can just really get along with other developers and, oh yeah, let's release feature 1 and 2 on that stadium. Let's really clear convention. So don't really know how much time I have left. 20 minutes, something. Okay. Yeah, I will skip this part. You also have a tagging convention for even easier naming your releases, but I will put those slides online afterwards. So you have a naming convention also. It's not that you can just that I just thought of some cool naming names for all those branches. That's really is the main naming convention. I almost only use source tree, and that's already embedded into source tree. You have a big button with this Git flow, and the production branch is always master. So production or live branch is always master. Development branch is always develop. Feature branch will always have a prefix of feature, release, etc., etc. So if you don't really got the concept entirely, this entire presentation, this entire Git flow is based on Envy, on a post of Envy or Vincent Driesen, and you should really start using source tree, because when you are not really sure what you're doing with commands, when your command line really scares you, just like me, you should get a GUI for easy commands, for easy workflow. So is that clear? Is that no questions about the flow? Okay. So the practical solution. We are working on the website Vier and Wave. People don't know that. That's two television channels in Belgium, quite big ones. And before we used Git Flow, the history was quite messy. It was absolute chaos. There were forgotten branches everywhere. There was absolutely no clarity whatsoever. There were very scary releases. We usually started a release on Monday or Tuesday because it was way too scary to do it any other time of the week. You would have really unclear merge conflicts. It was quite scary to just release something, to just put something live. So we put the entire project on a Git Flow environment, and now it really looks clean, nice. Everybody is no longer scared of merging, of branching. It's become very normal. So the history is now very clear. Everybody understands it perfectly. When anybody has to debug something, we can know, okay, this bug occurred in this stadium of the process. Another bug occurred there. The releases now, we release now on a Friday afternoon, because we have absolutely no fear of merge conflict that we can't solve. The merge conflicts do happen, but they are very clear. They are clear to understand, because you know what feature is merged into what. You really know, okay, this happened and that happened. It's absolutely natural. It's impossible for Git to know what he should do. So let's fix it by hand, or use a merge tool. So merge conflicts, I really like merge conflicts. I'm probably the only one in the room who likes merge conflicts. Find them very interesting. So Git is assuming that all developers are stupid. Let's face it. Git is only a tool for, so you can't really miss anything. It's a system that controls all your file directories or one specific file directory for one line of code for each change. So Git can't handle when you change the same thing. Let's say you change line 7 on a feature branch, and you change line 7, you change line 8 from header to footer, and then in the develop branch, while you're creating a feature branch, somebody else is extending the whole preprocess block hook, and he's saying, okay, we should have another if statement, and Git thinks that line 8 just changed into something entirely different, and line 8 is now just, so this if statement is now just on line 11. So Git doesn't know, okay, the same line changed into two separate things, and when you will merge the feature branch into develop, you will have a merge conflict, and that's not somebody's fault, it's just the way Git works. So I just really encourage you to use a merge tool. So on the top you can see when you open it in Sublime, for me, it's impossible for me. Even I created the problem. I really don't know how on earth I can solve this. It's just impossible. Something with a head, something with a feature preprocess block. You have two different kinds. You just don't know what happened. You just go into source tree or into your Git history and just check out, okay, it's very normal Git thinks this because the same line was actually changed, and we should keep both changes because it's not, you should not choose one, you can also choose both. So external merge tools like file merge, I think it's also included into source tree. You can just click and say, okay, choose both and put the left side first in front of the right side. So that were merge conflicts. The Git flow in Drupal is basically now, the database, we can't really version control. Why? Some databases are really huge, some databases are really complex. You shouldn't also be backupping a database to put in Git always, every time you do something. The way we work is just, we have a file directory, and that's perfect for Git, but database isn't really ideal for Git. You can't really just keep all the changes into database because the content changes also all the time. So when you have to put something back, it's already not very practical because the content changes. That's also a change in Git. It's just absurd when you should put databases into Git. So the way this is solved is by, or in Drupal 6 and 7, is by features module, that you can change anything of your configuration in your database, and you can just with features extract everything of your configuration that you want and put that into Git. When you put it into a release branch and you merge it into master, you can just apply those features and everything will change of the configuration, and you shouldn't be backup migrating a database and then reverting or uploading a database into live, which is quite tricky and time consuming. Now, features are also time consuming, but I will handle that in a minute. In Drupal 8 it will be quite the same thing, but it will no longer be called features or maybe the Drupal 8 backport of features, but it will be mainly config or only config. But the main module that will do that is already in core. It's all Drupal 8, and it's the config management system. So you will be exporting config out of your database into your file directory, so you can easily keep track of it. Okay, so the thing about Git Flow I hear a lot is, yeah, it's quite fun, it's quite clear, it's a real enlightenment, it's quite fun to work with. But if you're working, let's imagine the very first slide I showed you a branch. It was the one branch solution. When you're working alone on a project or just with two guys, and it's a really easy project, and you just want Git to work in the background because that's all we love Git just because of that, because it works in the background. So scalable is not the same as fast. Git Flow is designed to be very scalable, but it will have quite of a negative impact on your development process in the concept of how fast you can deliver something. So if you really are, you shouldn't be using all the branches, that's what I'm saying. Just like you shouldn't be using features module on a very small project where you just have 1 week of work. You will not be putting every feature, or you will not be putting every configuration into features, because it's just a small side project. Get on with it. You shouldn't be using all the branches. You can still use the branches that you need when you have multiple environments. Okay, let's use master, develop, and release branches, etc., etc. So the full-blown structure of Git Flow is great for big projects. Just like features is also the perfect module for big projects where a lot of members of your team are working on, and it's quite complex, and nobody should change the setting into commerce, because that's real hassle to solve. So you can choose which parts of Git Flow you want, because it all works perfectly, but you should always have two main branches. You should always have a master and develop, because let's say you have a staging, you should have a develop. It's quite the basics of it. But if you want to release something, you want to, let's say, the security issue of 7.32 or something, you just want to patch it, you can always do it in a hotfix, and you know your staging will be updated and your live will be updated. So you shouldn't be always using release branches. You can just choose a hotfix branch and get on with it. And if you have 20 hotfix branches after each other, it's not because it's called hotfix that you shouldn't be using it much. It's just a way of no, it's more a concept of, okay, now I just have to quick fix something. I will not be having a review about it or feedback about it. So if you're working with more than if you're just working with one front-ender and one back-ender on a project, it's also not necessary to have feature branches. Why? Because back-enders and let's say the pink ones are front-enders and the yellow ones are the back-enders. So you shouldn't be creating feature branches just because you're working on a separate feature, because a back-end developer is working on something and he wants to see progress somewhere down the line also, I think. So when you're a front-ender, you can just work together in the same branch, because it's not every branch is specific for one person. The only reason why you should have separate feature branches is when you are working with more than one backender or more than one front-ender on the same branch, because you will be working on the same file structure. You will be working on the same in the same files when me and another front-end developer are working both in template.php or changing some hook or just developing, it will be quite difficult for Git to not create merge conflicts. But if you're working on a separate feature, we can just create a new feature and it will be more logic, but you shouldn't be creating everything just for following the flow to exact every point. Now, to put it all in context, you have the one branch solution that's quite good for people who are working alone on projects and just committing stuff into it, and you only have one environment or whatever, just very small project. The best thing about Git is it's very flexible, it's very decentralized, and it should always stay in the background. That's why we love it so much. We shouldn't really be bothering about Git. We just commit, push, and pull on staging or automate it. It just is working really fast, and should only use Git Flow when you're really thinking about, okay, this is quite getting complex. Let's implement Git Flow on this project. You shouldn't be starting it on the very first commit either if you don't want to. It's advised, but you should have to. Git Flow is also used on every scale, but it's quite small it's quite slow on small projects. Yeah, so I made a comparison already with features. So the conclusion is you should know the concept about Git Flow. You should know why am I creating a feature branch? Why am I creating a release branch? That's for reviewers to see. Why am I creating a hotfix branch? You can adapt Git Flow to your own needs. You can even name your feature branches to your internal ticketing system, or you can name your feature branches to the developers that are working in it. You can choose whatever you want. You can choose which branch you don't want to choose, which branch you will be using very frequently. It's just a convention of everybody to know. But if, let's say, one company is working together with another company, and the one company is using Git Flow in a way that they are only using hotfix branches for support, and the other ones are using release branches, yeah, it's quite simple to just say, oh no, we only use release branches. It's just the concept of it. The main conclusion I want to make also, because the concept is so important that you should know in what branch you are developing in, it makes sure that developers are thinking before they are creating. They are checking out, okay, now I should check out the develop and create in that, and I should commit into a hotfix branch because I don't want to wait on the entire process. The reviewer doesn't have to see it. It makes sure that developers are thinking in the entire development process. And Git Flow may be a quite slowing effect on your entire workflow, but you will have a way better communication between the developers. Okay, let's create this feature, let's work on that, let's work on that. There are also a couple of other workflows like GitHub Flow or I don't know them all, but the main used is for now Git Flow. I'm hearing, so you can check that link. There are a couple or 4, I think, workflows that are really being used. That's it. Any questions?
Many questions.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, maybe better later, but so I could ask you. So the hotfix,
Yeah.
in some cases it might be possible just to commit it directly to the master branch.
Yeah. So the question is, why use a hotfix, or why not just commit something entirely or directly into the master branch? Well, if you have multiple environments and you have develop, then you should commit something into master, and then also commit something into develop, because the hotfix will not exist on staging, and you will
just merge it from master directly.
Well, when you merge master into let's say develop, you have again, the entire control process is gone, because something on master shouldn't be on how do I explain it? You have multiple environments. Why not say, yeah, it's entirely possible, but it's just way more clearer when you say it's in a hotfix. Because when I am reading Git history and I'm seeing, okay, somebody created a hotfix, it's just something to put on live and something to put on develop. But if you commit into something into master and you merge the master into develop, I have no clue what just happened or what commits are already put it into master, because I don't know, okay, which commits are into live, which commits are. It's again the concept of, oh, I'm just doing something small, nobody should know it, I'm just hotfixing it.
Okay.
You understand?
More, for you, it's an easy history.
Yeah, it's an easy history. It's for easy debugging. It's for clarity's sake. Exactly. So when you're working alone, it's perfectly. But when you're working with, let's say, a team of 5 developers, it's quite hard to say, oh yeah, I just merged the master into develop and everything is now on develop, and then somebody else says, yeah, but I'm also creating a hotfix. I'm also merging master into develop. It's quite huge changes, because when you're committing something, where should you be committing it in? When you're committing it into master, you can also say, yeah, but I'm going to make the same commit into develop. That should be even more, or that should be the solution in between your and mine solution. I'm just committing the hotfix into, no, I'm just committing the thing you want to hotfix into master, and then just going to commit this exactly the same thing into develop.
I mean, it's like a cherry pick.
Yeah, yeah. Or just create a patch of a commit and apply it onto develop. It's the same thing, but it's way more clearer when you say, I hotfixed something, this is a hotfix branch, and I merged it into master and to develop. That's just, it's entirely the same thing, and everybody can work with one branch. That's what I'm trying to make the concept clear. It's perfectly to work in any kind of branching model, but you should be using one convention. You should be using, if you want, you can make that the habit of always merging master into develop. But the good thing is, every purpose is now fixed with 3 secondary branches, 2 main branches, and everybody knows this concept, and everybody can get to work on any project, on any workflow that uses this workflow. And I think when I asked for who else uses Git Flow already, it's I think 30% of the people here. So it's getting quite implemented, but it still has a way to go. Okay. Other questions? Sure.
Where would you put the patches? In which branch would you put patches? Let's say your client is trying to real critical mistake in your application, and your testers didn't find it. Would you create a new patch branch upon release branch, or would you just
So if I understand you correctly, the question is, if you have a issue on live that your client is really worried about, that you should fix right away into a patch, where should you put it? Okay.
yeah.
Well, that's exactly what hotfix branches are for. So you can create a hotfix, apply the patch into that, and you can just patch it into the hotfix and merge the hotfix into live. So the client is very happy, and you merge the hotfix into develop. So the problem won't be occurring on develop when other people are watching that environment. So it's an exact use case for hotfix branches. Okay. Okay, so my time is up. Other questions you can mail me, or you can tweet me, or hate mail is not welcome. Using another workflow. Okay, thanks.